Okay, in our previous sessions, what we have learned? So we have learned about the okay, fine. So it was not there, I think. Okay. So in a previous session, what we have learned about the ngIf directive and these all things we have learned. Now it's time for us to learn about the another directive that is nothing but an ngFor. Okay. So this ngFor means nothing but a looping over the elements. How we can loop over the elements in the Angular. So let's try to see it one by one. So for example, let's say that I will create a component. Let's try to run it, this one, and here I will try to okay. So what I will try to do is I will try to create a component ngGC, and here I will be creating a component. So GC means nothing but generate component. We can also give an alias name like G for generate and C for component. We can also use that one. So users data, and this one is compiled. Okay, fine. I'm able to see the output, and here in the source and here you'll be able to see this is the users data component. So right now we are having a new component that is nothing but a users data. Let's go to the app component.html, which is a root component. This is a root component. So I will try to comment out this one also. Okay, so let's have only one component that is nothing but -5, and here I will try to do app-users-data. Okay, so this is the component I have added here. That's it. So now let's try to see the output. If I try to see the output, here I'm able to see that user data works. This is our component which I have implemented. Now if I go here into our users data component.ts, so this is the HTML which is getting rendered right now, which we have seen in the browser. Now let's say that here we are having a list of users data. Okay, array of users data. Let's say that users is equal to, it is an array, and first one is we are having an ID of type 1, and let's make it as a simple. So you will be having person1. Okay, so this is one of the guys details, and another user detail is nothing but ID of 2, and the name is nothing but person2. Okay, let's try to maintain it. Now here if you try to see, this is nothing but an array of ID number and the name string. Let's try to create an interface for this one. So these all things we already learned in our TypeScript thing. So let's try to create a models folder. Okay, and here I will try to create iuser.ts, and here I will try to do export interface iuser, and for this one what I can do is, so we will be having ID of type number, and we'll be having name of type string. Okay, so this is an object which we have created it. Now let's go to this user data.component, and here this is the users which is having ID1 and name person. So the same resemblance is there, which is of type iuser. So I can tell this one as an iuser. Okay, and it is an array. So we need to import the iuser from here. Why? Because I have exported here. So whatever the things we are exporting, we can import it here at the top. And now users iuser, it is an array of iuser. So that is nothing but this is one iuser and this is one iuser. So we are having iuser like this. Okay, so this is the users data. You can have another user also. Okay, now I want to show these details. So how can I show these details? For example, let's go here. Let's write right here h3 user details. Okay, so this is the user details which we are having. Now I want to show this user details. So I want to show the complete user details list. So one thing what I can do is, for example, let's say that we can have inside this div. Okay, so I can use something like da-flex anything. So if you want anything, you can make it. So I will try to use d1, and another one is person1. Okay, so this is one, and another one what I can do is 2 3. So here I can have a 2, and here I can have a 2, and here I can have a 3, and here I can have a 3. So I think only three things are there, right? Yeah, fine. Now if I try to see the output, so if we try to see the output, we are able to see the output as something like 1%, 1, 2%, 2, and 3%, 3. So these are the person details which we can able to see as a user details list. Now if you try to see here, so this one is somewhat we are duplicating the code. So these are all the code, what I can say is these are the code we are getting it from the iUser. Okay, so from this iUser we are able to get it. Okay, so now in Angular we have a directive that is nothing but an ngFor directive. Okay, so we have an ngFor directive, or otherwise what I can say is instead of using this d-flex and all those things, you can use a table. Okay, you can use a table, whatever the thing you want, you can use a table, and you can have a t head. Okay, and you can have a tr, you can have a th. So I can tell id, and I can tell the name, and I can know I will add the d body, and this is the tr, so which you will be having a td of 1, and here person1. Okay, so this is same thing, I can repeat it so that I can have a 2. So here I will add person2, the same thing I will try to add it 3, and here I will be adding person3. They were kindly be on mute. Yeah, so you are able to see this one, right? So this is the output which I am trying to show you. Yeah, here id and the name, and we are showing the data. So if you try to observe here, the data what I am trying to do is, so the person1, person2, and person3, the table data. Okay, so the table data we are doing some kind of duplication. Okay, so here we are already having an array of user details, and here we want to show the same user details, we are trying to show it. So Angular provides us a directive that is nothing but an ngFor directive. So how you will be having a ngIf as a structural directive, it also has another directive that is nothing but an ngFor directive. So what does this ngFor directive will do is, ngFor directive will loop over the array of data. Okay, so the array of data will loop over the array of data, and it will give you the, you can loop over the array of data, and you can display the details of this array. So I will try to show you how we can do this one. So the repeated one, what is that one? We are having tr, right? So this is the tr which we are getting repeated. So I can remove this one. Okay, so I will have only one tr, and now we will loop over this tr to repeat how many users are there, those many times we will try to repeat it. So the syntax for this one is, so we will be using star ngFor. So as this one is a structural directive, we will be using star ngFor. And here you need to use let user of users. Okay, so whatever the name you are having here, users, so we will take this one as users, and here this is a let. Okay, so now each user details will come into the variable. This is a local variable which will be present inside this ngFor only, and then using this user, so what I can do is I can use user.id, and also I can use user.name. Okay, user.name, that's it. So now we have looped over the object, the array, and we are showing the details. So if I try to see the output, so I am able to see the same output which I have seen it earlier, but what I have did, so here I have did the looping. Now for example, let's say that if I have added another one, okay, person4. So if I see here, if you try to see here, so automatically we are able to see this person4 also, it's getting loop. Okay, and now this is how we will be doing this ngFor. Not only this one, so you can also get an index for this one. Okay, so you can get something like index as I. Okay, so you can use index as I, and if you want you can do this I thing also. Okay, so now if I try to show you the index, now if you try to see the output, okay, so you will be able to see 0 1 2 3 which index this object is present in an array. So you can also get the index using index as I. Some people will use index as I, and some people will use let I is equal to index. Whichever you want, you can use it. So this one also works. Okay, so this one also works. We can also use something like index as I. Okay, and also in the for loop we can also get the count of the data also. Okay, so for example, if you want to know the count of this one, so count means nothing but what we can do is, so I am trying to tell you what are the different options it present. So we can also get the even and odd numbers also. For example, let's say that even as even and odd as odd. Okay, so we can find whatever the even rows and also the even odd rows. For example, if I want to apply a class for this one, so I can apply ng class. Okay, so this is the property binding. Okay, I can use an object. So if even is there, so true, and also what I can do is object, right? So odd is there, odd. So now I can use it like this. So now if you try to see the output here, if I go to the inspect element, if I try to show you the TR's thing, here you'll be able to see even odd like this class. New class has been applied to this one TR thing, so that even numbers got an even and odd numbers got an odd thing. Okay, so like this you can get a, you can also get the class like this. So now if I want to apply the colors for this one, so you can go to the users data.css and I can write for the even background color. So I can use something around, and I can use for odd, and I can use a background color blue or something like this, whatever thing odd colors I am using. But if you try to see the output, see we are able to apply the alternate colors using the even odd and even odd like this. For example, if I try to go somewhere, where is that output? Yeah, so even as even, odd as odd. So using this one also we can show it. And we also have another one, something like, these are the different types. Count as count also we have a count as count. Okay, so don't think that this one, so whatever the name you want, you can apply. So even as even class, so this is the variable name. So using this variable name you can use it here, odd as odd class. Okay, so you can use count as total users. Okay, and if I want to use this one, so I can use it wherever I want. So total users, if I want, I can show it here. Okay, so now if I want to see the output, so here you will be able to see 4 like this. So that means total number of users are 4. So you can also get the count of this one using the ngFor. Okay, and apart from this one, we also have another two variables which in ngFor will give you as an option. That is nothing but an first as first row, so whatever the name you want, first as first row, and also last as last row. Okay, so first row and the last row. So that means you can also able to determine which is a first row and which is a last row also, you can able to have it. So if you want to apply any color combination or anything, so you can also apply to this one. So here you can use something like first. So I will try to apply the class here first, so which is of type first row. So these all will return the boolean thing, so you need to understand. So last, and I will write it as last row. So these are the object notation I have written you, right? So these are boolean, true and false. So according to the true and false, which will have a true and false, so those class will be applied. Now let's try to add a first for this one. Where is this one? Yeah, here if I try to use first, and if I try to use background color red. Okay, let's try to see. Just I want to show you that how it will be applying. So dot last, so I will try to apply background color yellow. Okay, now if you try to see only the first row and the last row, you will be having red and yellow color. See, so even and odd you will be able to see blue and like the aqua blue. So like this you can, using the ngFor, we can find this all the data. Okay, so index, even in the iteration, even iteration, odd rows, even rows, total count, so how many users count is there. So this is not a something like so you can take the users dot length and also you can get it, but I'm trying to show you what are the different options in ngFor it is available. And first as first row, last as last row. Okay, so this is about the normal ngFor. Okay, I will tell you about the scenario of this ngFor. For example, let's say that I will try to remove these all the things, or otherwise let's try to keep it like this only. Let's take another one. Okay, ngGC categories data, something like this. I am taking another component, categories data. Let's try to create it. Okay, so we have created a categories data, and in this one, let's say that we are having a categories. Okay, categories. So we need to create a model, so interface for this one. So let's go to this model and let's create I category. Okay, I category.ts. So you can have export interface I category. So whatever the name you want, you can keep it. As this one is an interface, I am keeping it as an I at the prefix, so that I can able to understand that okay, this is an interface. Let's say we'll be having an ID of number and a category name of type string. Okay, and the status of type boolean. Okay, let's try to make it like this, or otherwise let's leave it this one. We'll try to make it simple only. We can have another one, what I can say, let's make it simple. So I'll try to keep it like that only. I don't want to confuse. Let's go to here ts, and we have a categories. It is of type I category array of data, and I can take something like this. And if you try to see here, I'm able to get an options automatically, and I can get category name. Okay, so here I can say something like category 1. Okay, and I can copy this one. Let's try to paste it another one. Okay, so here I will be having another category 2, like this category 2. Let's try to add another one also, category 3 and category 3. So these are the categories data. Now if you go to the HTML, the same thing. So what you will try to do, div, and I will try to do the h1. So categories list. Okay, I will try to have a table. So class is equal to table. The same thing I will try to use it, and I am trying to use thead. So here I'll be having a tr, th. I will try to show id and the name. Okay, something like action or anything I want to do it. Okay, now if I want to do it, tr, sorry, thead, right, tbody and tr. So here I can loop over ngFor, sorry, not ngFor. Okay, category of categories. So this is the variable name I am having, and I can go td. So what is the thing you will be having? Category dot id. So I will be showing first one id and the category dot category name. That's it. Okay, we are showing the details of this one. So let's try to see the output. In order to see the output, what we need to do, so we need to add it here, categories data, I think. So this is the component name which we will be having. Let's try to see the output. If I try to see the output, here I'm able to see the category 1 and category 2, category 3. We are able to see the output without any problem. Here we are having an action, right? Let's try to add an action here. I will try to show you. Let's go to this categories.html. In this one, td, I will add an input box. Okay, okay, I will add an input box here. Fine. Now if I try to see here, so we are able to see an input box in this one. I will add a button here in such a way that add category. So here let's go to the down, and I will have a button add category. Okay, whenever the user clicks on this button, on add category. Okay, so on add category, let's go to this categories data.component.ts, and here I will add on add category. Now what I will try to do is this dot categories dot push. I will push the data. I will push a new category into this one. So let's make it as somewhat simple. id, this dot categories dot length. Okay, this dot categories dot length +1. Let's try to make it as +1. So we'll be getting 1 2 3 3, right? And here I will be trying to do name also. So name will be same thing, category. Okay, and here I will use the same thing, this dot category +1 dollar of, I'll try to use the same thing. Okay, so this is the thing I am trying to use it. So what is the problem here? We are getting id number is not assigned to the category of I category. Okay, so we can say it as I category. Okay, still it is not working. What is the problem it is saying? Conversion of type id number name string to a type id may be a mistake because neither sufficient. Action convert that. Has happened category, this dot category +1. Let's try to make it as, let category of type I category is equal to, let's try to add it as id, this dot categories dot length +1. I want to make it as +1 comma, and here okay, the problem what it is coming is it should not be a name, right? It should be a category name. So okay, if I try to remove this one, it will work fine. So that is a problem. So these type of mistakes in the TypeScript we can override it. So we need to have a category name, but I am trying to give the name, right? So whereas in JavaScript it will not show you any errors, these type of things. So these type of things, while adding the interface and all those things, so we can override this one. So now we got the category push. So just I am pushing a dynamic one. So if I try to click on this category, so we are able to add the categories, something like this basic thing. So now let's see that the performance thing. Okay, I want to show you the performance of this one. Now let's say that, so here we are having element. Let's go to the element thing and let's go to this t body and the tr. So we are having the 3 trs, right? So now whenever I am adding a new category into this table, so we need to check that whether this ngFor loop, okay, whether this for loop is repeating again. So now category, in these categories I have added a new category again. So that means it has to loop over and need to re-render all the trs, right? Again it has to loop over all the trs and it has to re-render it again. So if you try to click on this category, see, you will be able to see that a bright color, so a blink will be applied on the tr. So if I will try to click again, see, a blink has applied on the tr. So that means Angular behaves in a very smart way that it will able to understand, okay, it will able to understand that how many things I need to loop it. For example, let's say that we are having a categories of data and I am trying to push one category into this categories list of data. So whenever I pushed a new thing, so category, this Angular will not loop over from first onwards. Okay, Angular will not loop over from first onwards. It knows that, okay, so some of the categories has already been rendered through the for loop. So when new categories has been added, I need to add it at the bottom. So instead of having, for example, let's say that instead of having, so we are having a 5 categories, let's assume. So now in the view we are looping 5 times. It will loop 5 times to show the 5 categories. Now I have added 6 categories. Okay, so six categories are there. Already 5 categories has been looped. So in order to add the 6th category, normally in JavaScript what will happen, it will again start the loop. Okay, it will again start the loop from first onwards. So that means from first onwards, so that means it will loop 6 times. Okay, it will loop the 6 times. So here it will loop 5 times. So this could be a problem. So tomorrow we are having 100 categories. Okay, so you have already looped over. So first time it has looped 100 times to show the 100 categories. Now I have added a 101 category. One category I have added. So one category if added, then it becomes 101 categories. Now in order to re-render this last category, again it will loop in JavaScript. Again it will loop 101 times. Okay, so it will re-render the entire table. If you try to observe, you will understand. It will re-render the entire table so that the last item will be pushed off. So or otherwise in the middle of the category, if I try to change, it will try to loop from first onwards. It will try to loop it and it will try to change it. Okay, so but the Angular, in Angular it is very smart enough. So it will use the object context. I'll try to tell you what is an object context. So it will try to maintain the object context, so that it will try to check that whatever the object has been changed. So here what the object has been changed in this object context, it will try to maintain that. Okay, so this id1 and id2 id3, so using the unique values and all those things, it will try to maintain the context. So it will check that whether this context has been changed or not, this context has been changed or not. If it is changed only, then it will loop. So only that particular object only will be loop. If that context is not changed, any new category is pushed, means only one time it will loop over. Okay, only one time means that only the last item will loop over here, and it will be rendered. So remaining all which are previously rendered, it will not loop over that one. So this is the performance index in the Angular. Now see, what I will try to do is, here I will try to do some mischievous thing, so that now Angular will get confused. So whenever I am clicking on this add category, what I will try to do is, I will try to copy this entire thing. Okay, this dot categories is equal to, so I am pushing the same content again. Okay, I am pushing the same content again. This time I am pushing the extra one fourth. Okay, so now what need, so previously what I have did, let's try to copy this one. So previously what I have did, so already I took the categories data and I have pushed a new one. So that means nothing but the categories data is nothing but like this it will become. Okay, so now let's try to see how it will behave. So now let's try to comment out this one. So now only the one category has been added here. New category has been added. So all the three categories which are there, I am adding like that only. Now if you try to see here, so first time it is there like this only. And if you try to see the TRs, so if you try to see the TRs, the three TRs are there, right? Now I will click on the add category. Now if you observe, entire table is rendered again. Entire table is rendered. If you try to observe, entire table got refreshed. If you try to see here, I will try to show you. I don't know whether you maybe are seeing or not. So observe these TRs, all the TRs and T-body. If I click here, see entire table has been re-rendered. So why, that is the reason. So it is blinking. So it is telling that entire categories, entire loop has been run again. So now here if I try to use the same thing, so the same thing only but in a different context I am using. So if I try to use the same thing, okay, so let's go to here, inspect element, and here these are the three TRs is there, right? Try to observe only one TR. So why? Because we have added a new one, right? So when I am clicking here, only one TR is getting added. So only one time only the looping over. So already previously rendered items, they are not looping. So only one category is looping here. So this is how we will be using, but the Angular is unable to understand that the same content, if I am trying to reassign it, so Angular is unable to understand it. So for example, let's try to say that, so I can do in another manner also. Let's say that I am having a let categories is equal to, so I will take this dot categories. Okay, and here what I will try to do is, or otherwise let categories is equal to this dot categories dot map. So I will loop over each category. So what I will try to do is, I will try to return category. That's it. So now I have got the all categories. I am looping over and just I am returning the category. That's it. So now what I will try to do is, I will try to take these categories and I will try to push this inside these categories only, and I will reassign this category. Same thing. So just I am doing in a different way. I am taking one intermediate variable, I am doing the manipulations, and I am pushing the same categories, a local variable, into this dot categories. Now if you try to observe, then also, so I didn't do anything. So if then also see entire thing is refreshing. So that means, so for example, I will try to show you the scenario also. So for example, if I try to refresh it, and if I try to comment out this one, If I try to comment on this one and if I try to show it again, so this is a previous one, right? So for example, let's say that I've added some content here. Okay, if I click on this one, so this content is retained like that only, so it is not so it is not re-rendering again. So if I try to use it, so it is remaining like that only. For example, the same code, so which I was using previously. Okay, so what I did here, nothing I did, so nothing fancy I have did. So I am taking a local variable categories and I am sending the category, the same category I am pushing over, and inside these categories, so local variable categories, I am pushing the same data and I am assigning this to the categories. Now if you try to see here, I will try to add some data, and if I click on add category, see my data all has been gone. One second. So here we need to use categories.length, and here I need to use categories.length. Why? Because so local variable we are using, right? So now if I try to use the same thing, if I will try to write it, so it needs to return it like that one, right? So now entire thing has been gone. So when I am clicking on this add category, only one thing has to add. So these all things should remain like that only. So now entire thing is going. Why? Because entire table is re-rendering with the ngFor loop, which creates a performance issue. So in order to overcome this performance issue, so we have an option that is nothing but a trackBy. Okay, so trackBy, and you can I can add a method something like track user. So here this track user, and you can use it here. Okay, so this gets a parameter something like index of type number, and also you will get a category of type I category, and you can say that return if category is present category.id, the unique value you need to send it. Okay, so inside this one, inside this object, so which is the unique one, so let's assume that we know that id will be unique for each one. Okay, so now you are sending the id, so you are sending the category.id for that one, so we are sending a unique id. So that what it will try to do is the Angular will try to attach this unique id to this ngFor loop, and until and unless that unique one has not been changed, so the unique id is not being changed, means it will not re-render. So if it is changed only, it will re-render. Here what we are trying to do, we are not trying to change the id values. So for newly created one, so we are adding a +1 id, but we are not changing the ids for the existing one. So those ids are not changing for the existing one. So as long as they are unique like that only, it will not re-render those things again. So if I try to see the same output, now if I try to see the same output, if I click here, see, now we are not able to get, the entire thing is not re-rendering. So previously it used to get re-render, but this time it is not re-rendering. If you try to see here also, okay, so here all the TRs are there, right? So if I try to use add category, see, only one thing is re-rendered. So here if I try to click like this, you will be using. So this is all about the ngFor loop. Okay, so so what we have learned in this one, we have learned the basics of the ngFor directive. Okay, ngFor directive basics, how we can loop over. So we can use let item of items. Okay, you will be using let item of items. And ngFor syntax, I have shown you, this is the ngFor syntax, and we have seen all those things: index as I, first as first, last as even, odd as odd, and another one is count as count also we have seen. Okay, these are all the options that are available in the ngFor loop as a parameters. And I have already shown you the trackBy and track user. So the benefit, the performance issue, and how we can overcome using the trackBy, So these are the things we have learned it. Okay, so this is all about the ngFor loop. So ngFor loop is a structural directive. It is used to loop over the arrays in the template. And ngIf directive, so you need to add a conditional directive. Okay, so that's it about the ngFor directive. So let's move on to the another topic, that is nothing but debugging the Angular. So debug, if you find any problems or anything, so normally we'll be able to get all types of problems, right? So one second. So when you are doing this Angular code and when you are coding, so not in Angular, any language or any programming language or any JavaScript code, when you are trying to do, getting errors is common. Okay, so getting the errors is the common thing. So getting the errors is the common thing. So if we get errors only, then we can able to understand. Then how we can debug the error. So that means where the error is actually coming and what is the exact problem and all those things, how we can debug. So in Angular will be somewhat you will be finding all the times you will be getting so many errors. Why? Because it's a common thing. So it's a TypeScript code and entire code is different if you try to see. So we need to have some debugging mechanism, or we need to have some debugging thing. One common scenario is all the times you will keep a console.log. For example, if I want to keep, so here the logic what I have written, this is all completely confusing. So I want to know what it is happening. One thing is you will keep a debugger here. Okay, you will keep a debugger here, and what you will try to do here, let's go on to this one. So let's click on this add category. Automatically this one will go into this debugger thing. Okay, and you can go into this one. Okay, now you will get a categories, same thing 1, 2 and 3. Okay, I'm able to see the categories, expected thing only. Now I am pushing another category. If you try to see here, length plus 1, so this, so if I try to go here, you will be having categories as 4 items. So if you try to see categories, if you hover here, you will be able to see the categories. If you want to see here also, you can see the local scope. So these are the categories. So new one has been added, and if you remove this one, so a new category has been added. So this is how you can loop over, so you can step over one by one like this. You can step over, or otherwise the another thing what you can do is you can console here. Okay, console.log these dot categories or categories. I want to know categories before assigning to the this dot class property before assigning. So if I want to check here, so here I can go to the console, and if I click here, I am able to get the categories, so that I can be able to ensure that what are the categories that are going to be added. So fine. So these are the pretty common things which we will be using. So in Angular, we can also have debugging things. I will try to show you. One thing what you can do is here you will be able to have in VS Code. So how we can debug in this one in the Visual Studio Code, I will try to explain you. In Visual Studio Code, so this is our Visual Studio Code, right? So in VS Code, here you will be having a run and debug. Okay, if you click on this one, so here you will be able to see ngSir, and try to click on this start debugging. For example, let's say that I want to know, so here you can add a debugger here. Okay, I added a red mark, so breakpoint. So when I try to execute this one, and if I click on add category, nothing is happening. So this debugger is not at all working, right? So in order to work this debugger thing, so this breakpoint, so how can I make these breakpoints to work? In order to make this breakpoint to work, what we need to do is, so we need to go to the debug thing here. Okay, and here you will be able to see a play icon. So click on this play icon, so that the Chrome, what I can say, what is that one? The Chrome launcher will start here. Let's wait. So let it start. It will try to debug all those things. Oh, 1 second. Let's try to stop it, or otherwise. Okay. So let's try to stop my thing also. Here it's try to open actually. So I closed it, and I think I'm closing it off. So now let's try to start it again. Okay, so now it is starting. So here if you try to click on this one, it will try to start executing. So it is compiling. First it will compile. I don't know why it is slow. So it's generating. It will generate. The same thing happens, nothing. So wow, we have did it, but this time we are using it through the Visual Studio Code, and we are trying to run it. So let it run. So this is nothing but what I can say is debugging through the Visual Studio Code. So how we can debug through the VS Code. So that is the thing I am trying to explain you. So here you will be able to see the output, right? So this is the categories which we are able to see it. So let's me close this one. Yeah. So now if I try to open this one, so this is the output which you are able to see it. Now I will click on this add category. If I click on this add category, okay. So now here the debugger has been stopped here. You are able to see it, right? So the debugger has been stopped. Here it hasn't been anything added, but here the debugger has been stopped. So this is how you can debug in the Visual Studio Code. And at the top you will be able to see so this type of things. So step or step things, how you can able to see in the Chrome browser, you will be able to see these all things also. And categories, so here you can able to see the data. So first time the categories variables is undefined, and here this is the categories class component. So that is nothing but a class thing, and in this class we are having a property, and these are the prototypes of this one. Okay, so if you have any methods or anything, so you'll be able to see it here. For this categories thing, or for this one, prototype is this one. In this one you'll have on add category, these are all the things you'll be having. Track user, ng on init construction, these are the methods, prototypes. So if you want to know more about prototypes, means we have already covered in our sessions, previous sessions, so you can check there. Now this is how we can get it. And if you want to move, if you want to stop the debug, so you can click on the stop debug. Immediately it will go into the next debug. So if you click on this one, so it will move. So why? Because I have added the debugger in the loop, so it is looping over 3 times, and it has went into the another debug. So now here you will be able to see all the local things, so how it is getting updated and all those things. Okay, so if I go into the next thing, let's go on to the next. What has happened to this one? This one stuck or what? So if I go into the next thing, let's try to stop this one. I got stuck or what? So here let's try to stop this one. Okay, so now it got executed. So now if I try to click on this one again, okay, all the things I have removed actually. Let's try to rerun it again. So this is how we will be debugging in the Visual Studio Code. So you understood, right? So why this debugger has been given in this, what I can say in this one is, so in order to debug it like this. Another type of debugging is, what I can say is, it is taking so much of time, let it stop. So another type of debugging, what I can say is, starting here, let it start. We have another option that is nothing but, let's try to close these all things. Let's try to open here. Yeah. So now another type of things what I can want to open is Angular Dev Tools. Okay. So you will be having an Angular Dev Tools. So here you will be able to see Dev Tools overview. And in this one, it is available for Chrome and Firefox. I think I didn't remember exactly. So it is available for Angular V12 and later. So version 12 and later, these Dev Tools are available. For below V12 and all those things, there are other tools, something like Augury and all those things. So we need to use those things. But we are using Angular14, so greater than 12 only, right? So this is the officially supported Angular Dev Tools. It's a browser extension. So you can download this one in the Chrome. If you are using Chrome, you can download it from the Chrome Web Store. Or otherwise, Firefox, you can use it from the Firefox add-in. So you can add it this one. As I already had it here, so remove from Chrome is there. And if you want to see it, here in this one, you will be able to see an Angular. Okay. And here you will be able to see the app categories data. So here you will be able to see the categories data. So whatever the categories we are trying to add. So these categories means nothing but this component. Okay. So this is this data. So this data we are trying to see. So for example, if I try to add this one 4 and also something like this 4, now you try to see the output. So here app categories data. So here having a 4 categories 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is the category 4. So at the top you'll be able to see the Angular version, that is nothing but 14.0.6. And what I can say here, you'll be having a profiler. So this is nothing but a performance thing. So how much the component has been loaded, how much time it is taking to load, so how much time the for loop is rotating and all those things. If you want to check the performance and all those things, you can check it in the profiler. So this is the component. So this is our app component. In this app component, we have added this app categories data. So these are all the properties which are available. So whatever the class properties you will be creating, you'll be able to see here. So if you want to search the component, you can search it app-categories. So you can search it like this also. And so that's it. This is a simple thing only. So here dark mode and all those things are there. So which you want, you can keep it. So this is all about the Angular dev tools. So these are the different ways how you can debug the Angular in the code. So I have shown you the how we can debug in the VS Code version, and also I have shown you these all the traditional method how you can do it using the console and the debugger. That is a common thing, traditional way how you can use it. And the another thing is the dev tools extension. So that is nothing but this dev tools extension. What I can say, this dev tools extension. That one is this one, Angular dev tools. Okay. So this is one of the things. These are the 3 ways which we can debug the Angular. There are also other ways, but these are the most common ways which we will be debugging in the large scale projects or normal medium scale projects. Consoling debugs are the traditional way which we will be not using. So through the VS Code and through this Angular dev tools only, we will be debugging the code. So this is all about the thing. So we have learned today ngFor and also Angular debugging, right? So 1 second, let me have some water and welcome.